All right, thank you so much for staying with the Monday Report. Mrs. Nancy Karigitu is still with me. She's the Principal Secretary, State Department of Shipping and Maritime at the Ministry of Transport. John Domingo is also here, Head of Commercial Shipping, Kenya Maritime Authority. Miss Betty McKenna, International Federation of Transport Workers, is still with us. This is a day, 2 days before the International Day of the Seafarers. That's being marked on Thursday, the 25th. This year's theme is Seafarers are key workers. Let's listen from Mr. Stephen Owaki. He's the Secretary General, Seafarers Union of Kenya, also known as SUK, on his perspective as to why seafarers should be essential workers. Listen.
I'm Stephen Owaki, Secretary General, Seafarers Union of Kenya. In my view, seafarers actually need to be recognized as essential workers, because despite these other activities having been stopped due to COVID-19 pandemic, we have realized that seafaring has continued ever since to this date, and they still continue to work, because without the seafarers and without the sea transport, actually the world cannot run. And therefore, due to that aspect of them being the workers on board the ships which travel all over the world, seafarers therefore become automatically essential workers. And that is why also they have been left to continue operating, despite the fact that we have air transport and those other services having been stopped due to COVID-19 pandemic. You realize seafarers are employed on contract. They don't work on a permanent and pensionable basis like other workers. So when it comes to the end of contract, they are required anywhere in the world to sign off and leave the ship for others to come in. But due to COVID-19 pandemic, it has not been possible for seafarers to sign off, and that has been a very big challenge on the side of seafarers. It has created a lot of depression and stress on the seafarers. And as a union which is there to fight for the rights of seafarers, we have put pressure on the governments to relax the restrictions and allow them, even if it's not possible for them to go out, but at least if the ship docks at the port, then the seafarers can be allowed to leave the ship and come ashore to relax and also have some time to contact their people wherever they could be. And I must say also that due to our campaign and a persistent cry to the government of Kenya the other day actually agreed that there can be local crew change, which means now that the local seafarers, once their contracts come to an end, they can sign off and the other crew can sign on. So that becomes another major achievement on our side as a union through the support of Government Ministry of Transport, because it has been a big problem actually on the side of seafarers. You know, some of them have even worked for more than 1 year, on the ship, but they cannot leave the ship despite the fact that their contracts have lapsed. And therefore, you know, with that continued working on the ship, it has not been easy for them to work, even to, you know, deliver on their duties. And IMO, including other international bodies, ITF, have come up actually trying to campaign for those restrictions to be relaxed on the side of the seafarers. And we appreciate that since that time, things have started changing to allow seafarers now to have a show when the ship is in the port. And even when, so long as they will have tested, they have been taken the COVID-19 test and proved to be negative, then they can be allowed to leave the ship and come ashore. And even those ones also joining the ship today, they need to undergo the COVID-19 test so that they must confirm their status before they're allowed to join the ship. And that, to us, is a big achievement, because previously when the pandemic started, there were no such kind of requirements, but today we have them in place now. In my conclusion, actually, I still urge the government to focus on the side of the seafarers, and it must be a collaborative approach, because one government on its own may not make it possible, but the governments need to have an arrangement whereby at the end of the contract of seafarers, there need to be some plans in place to ensure that they leave the ship and they are lifted back home, so that other seafarers can also come and join the ship. Probably an arrangement of a pool kind of a situation whereby Mombasa can be considered to be a change crew center, so that ships all over the world which have the seafarers coming to the end of their contracts, they can be brought to Mombasa, and then from Mombasa they can be airlifted to those other places. And it's very much possible. It can be done.
All right, that's Stephen Owaki, Secretary General, Seafarers Union of Kenya, also known as SUK. Madam PS, he has raised a very important issue of why the seafarers need to be recognized as essential workers. How come they haven't? Was this an oversight?
Okay, it didn't happen because one of the major issues, and that's why we have the International Day of the Seafarer, is because you will agree that shipping takes place behind the scenes. When it is aviation, all of us know, we see planes, we see the captains, we see the, they're on land, they're in our faces, if you may. But when it comes to shipping, it's a quiet, very important business, but happens in the background. And when we go to the supermarket, when we use a motor vehicle, we hardly ever think how those, that's facilitated. When you think about the fuel that we need to light up, our cities, to light up our mainframes, our iPads, our phones, we hardly ever think about, the work or the workers that are behind those important things that we take for granted in our day-to-day lives get to us. And therefore, of course, we kept the ports open, but we forgot that for the ports to work, for the ships to come, there are people who are working day and night and making sacrifices to ensure that the goods reach us safely and at great sacrifice. You've heard from the Seafarers Union. And therefore, they were not on the forefront, even with our international partners. When initially the COVID started, we didn't see this happening. But like Suk has said, Mr. Stephen Owaki has said, this is something that now, has come to the realization of both the IMO, the International Labour Organization, which deals a lot with issues of seafarers' employment and welfare, the associations for ship owners, the unions, the International Transport Workers Federation, and therefore, towards the end of March, early April, we got the circulars saying that these are the protocols we need to follow, and we very quickly, picked them up and analyzed them and made a case to the government, and we are happy that in Africa, Kenya is the first to have opened for crew change, which is fitting because we are members of the IMO Council, and therefore we should be seen to be leading from the front. We've also, as a country, prioritized the blue economy as a major area for national growth, so we should be putting our, we should be following up with what we are planning. And we are also aspiring to be major suppliers of seafarers to the, international fleet. And therefore, for us, this is very, very important, and that's why we picked it up and very quickly did the interagency consultations with all the key stakeholders, and now we've got the protocols undergoing through the final stages of approvals. And post-COVID, this is an area that we wish to be able to anchor our economic growth on.
Okay.
It's an area with potential for a lot of economic benefits.
All right.
We are very lucky, or we are very blessed that we are a country that has got a coastline.
Yeah.
We've got international airport next to the port, to the major international port.
Okay. Nairobi
is a hub, in the aviation industry.
Yeah.
Passenger hub, and using crew change, because in normal times, other than now with COVID, we've got 150,000 crew changing and coming on board every day. And if we are able to corner that market, you can see the potential for growth in terms of our tourism, because the crew who change will want to take holidays.
Okay.
That's the beauty about the other side, the positive side of seafaring, other than what Reverend Muli of the Seafarers Mission to Seafarers told us, is that the seafarers can take their holidays anywhere. And why shouldn't we be able to get some of that, those holiday makers when they change their ships in Mombasa, when they're coming to embark ship in Mombasa, then they should be able to take holidays.
All right.
Then, most important also, an opportunity for growth for Kenya Airways, our national carrier, because Mombasa being an international, an airport that's able to receive international flights, that means that those crew can come to board ships in Mombasa while the others are leaving using Kenya Airways.
Okay.
So a lot of benefits there, and these issues are not lost on us.
All right.
Thank you.
There are many questions that are coming through from our viewers. Let's listen. Let's bring up one of them.
Why is it that we are hearing so much about air crew protection against COVID-19 and air crew quarantine, and very little on seafarers?
Mr. Mingo, yes, there's a question about why they're hearing... go ahead.
Thank you. I got the question. Why so much about the crew for the air, other than that one for the ships?
Yes.
Just like the PS has already mentioned, shipping takes place in the background, far much away from the majority of apart from the people along the coast. The people up country, they rarely see the ships. And their activities are normally done day and night. The people only hear of the big quantities of cargo that they bring, but they rarely see. But in the same way of making sure that we are the air is well protected, also the public health, in conjunction with other agencies, have taken a lot of effort to make sure that the COVID doesn't penetrate through the waters. There are specific guidelines that were issued jointly and led by public health that ensures that we don't run a risk from the sea, just like it is from the air. But again, air carries a lot of human traffic. For ships, you are only dealing with cargo and a handful of crew that are handling that. So it's much easier to put good control, because we don't receive so many passengers. When it comes to cruise ships, the risks that COVID brought to the cruise ships, particularly when the infections were detected, made many countries temporarily stop cruise ships from calling at the airport. And that is another major source where the human traffic. For ships, for air, there's a lot of human traffic. COVID doesn't go with the cargo. It only goes with the human people. And for cargo, it can't last for long. And that's why you hear the effect is so much hard in the air traffic than it is done in the waters, because the water is mainly for a lot of cargoes. We hardly receive passengers through the waters. Thank you.
Let's bring up another question.
We have had cases of seafarers being recruited by fake firms only to be sent to employers to be mistreated and tortured. How do we protect them from that type of exploitation? And do we have a record to account for everybody that goes on board?
All right, that goes to McKenna and PS. McKenna, start with you.
Thank you. I want to say that I know our seafarers are going out with wrong employers. They're there. Many, but there is a channel which each seafarers, when you leave this country, you must report. You report to the Kenya Maritime Authority or to the union, and there is always a recruiting manning agent who produce the crew list to the authority. That is one. The second one is each crew or Kenya who is recruited in a bad employer or get himself in a bad employer, they normally get in touch with us, and they normally get in touch with the government. And we have brought many of them back home. The only thing I will ask the seafarers that we have been talking to them, we have been asking them, even if you get a job on your own to sea, please report to the authority that you are leaving so that we can know, because we know as international transport workers, I know I can bring you from anywhere. I can get in touch with any owner ship. I can get in touch with any ship all over the world. We are all over the world. But we asked in Kenya, I know they've been leaving without reporting or leaving without informing the authorities. But now we are happy from this year. Most of the seafarers now, they are aware, they are already aware, and they don't leave. But we still have some we have already brought back home.
Okay. All right, let's bring up another question.
Us as youth, how are you helping us towards curbing the rate of unemployed number of youth in this country? Because there are many job opportunities there at the Marine, and we want to know our fate as youth. Are we involved towards the growth of that sector?
PS?
Hello?
Yes, PS.
Yes, that's a very good question, and thank you very much for that. But before I get to that, let me say that the reason why Kenya Maritime Authority exists as a regulator for the industry is so that, seafarers are well protected. Within that organization is a national registrar of ships. There is also a national registrar of seafarers, and his job is to make sure that nobody leaves Kenya, goes to work on board a ship unless their crew agreement has been deposited with the authority, and we know where to get them. And as you have realized from the panel today, you can see that the international community through IMO, the ILO, we've put major structures to ensure that the seafarers are protected wherever they are. That's why we have the International Transport Workers Federation, a network of offices around the world from which the seafarer can get protection. Then also the missions to seafarers, all that is geared towards the protection of seafarers. Now, when I come to the youth, I want to tell them that the government has put in place measures to ensure that they get to participate in this area. We are coming out of a historical, can I say, desert in terms of careers at sea, because before we were able to set up the structures like we are talking about today, Kenya Maritime Authority, international recognition, we lost our place in the international seafaring market. And of course, nature abhors a vacuum. The space was taken up by other nationalities. That's why we say during piracy, every ship that was pirated had a Filipino seafarer. The space was taken. But now the government has made major strides for you. We've put major structures to ensure that, first of all, we get recognition. Then the other thing, the government has come up with partnerships that are very good for you. You know very clearly about, or you've heard about the partnership, the MOU, with the second biggest international shipping line, the Mediterranean Shipping Company, which is not just a cargo carrier with over 550 vessels calling all over the world for cargo, but also with a very vibrant cruise shipping division, passenger transport. And it's the it's the fastest growing cruise shipping line. Now, this was strategic for two reasons. One, we didn't have a product that was known outside. Who knew that Kenyans can be reliable, hardworking, efficient workers, and therefore capable of being recruited? Nobody. Then, because of the structures that are there in terms of development of the skills that are needed and the mandatory, structures that are there, like sea time when we don't have ships, we knew that if we go solely in terms of cargo ships, we will have a problem. And therefore, a cruise shipping partner made a lot of sense because we are historically a very well-known market for hospitality products. And now we want to say, without fear of contradiction, that Kenya is up there with among the best.
Okay.
The world knows that Kenyans are workers and reliable workers. We are urging the youth, come on board.
Okay.
We will guide you, we will train you, and you remember last year, His Excellency the President commissioned this institution where we are sitting today, myself, to be a trainer for the maritime sector, a center of excellence for maritime training.
All right.
And therefore, we are ready for you.
Okay. There's one more question that we should bring up.
Thank you.
What are some of the risks associated with the seafarers, and how is the government managing to control those risks?
Omingo, you had mentioned some of the risks earlier on, but how are you mitigating against those risks?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. A lot has been spoken of on the kind of challenges that the seafarers face, and the frameworks which our government has set up to be able to address. The PS has just mentioned the establishment of Kenya Maritime Authority that has got a department that deals specifically with the seafarers, as the PS has just mentioned. And in this department, we encounter many issues. McKenna has just mentioned that it is not good for a seafarer just to walk out because you've gotten a job without telling us where you are going. It is important because the deal may look very good and you don't want to share with your friends. You just want to disappear and go. But when it is too good, you have to think twice because those are the ones that normally give us a lot of problems. They are mistreated. And as is spoken of internationally, that a sad ship is a very dangerous one. And a sad ship only becomes sad when the crew are not properly treated.
Yeah.
And shipping, like any other business, has got those elements of bad operators. So the sure way of making sure that you don't encounter those kind of challenges is to make sure that we know where you are going.
Okay.
And is to make sure that you also, before you sign that agreement, we will be able to go through the agreement and find out the terms and conditions under which you have been taken on board and the kind of challenges that you may encounter so that you are aware. Knowledge is very, very important to reduce a lot of those risks.
All right.
Other areas are to do with the systems that the International Maritime Organization has put in place, the ITF, together with the port state control activities that we undertake. The port state control is that responsibility given to states to be checking the ships that are calling at their ports to ensure that conditions are suitable even for the seafarers. And there are channels of communicating that have been provided to help the seafarers tell of the problem that they are facing.
Okay.
Even in terms of food.
Yeah.
If you don't get any fruits, you may have serious challenges with the other diseases.
Okay.
So these are the kind of things that need to be brought out so that you don't have those kind of problems.
All right.
When there is racial discrimination and things like that make a ship not a very happy one, there are channels that you can be able to bring out the issues and measures which have been put in place to mitigate on those kind of risks that a seafarer is likely to face.
All right.
Thank you.
I'll give each and every one of you just 20 seconds to tell us what to expect on the Seafarers Day that is coming on Thursday, which is the 25th. McKenna, I'll start with you very briefly. What are you looking forward to? Yeah.
What I'm looking forward is for the crew change and crew to go home and meet the family and also stress-free, and we can get more other crew to go back to work. Okay. That is my prayer for 25th for crew change.
Great. Mr. Mingo?
For a long time, our youths have not been so much into this seafaring business. And we wish to assure you that we have put measures to make sure that you are trained properly.
Yeah.
We have put measures to promote your qualifications internationally. And so then when you take this also in the context of the opportunities which people are being made aware of in the overall blue economy, we see a lot of good things coming from the blue economy sector, not just for seafaring, but many other aspects of engagement with the blue economy, particularly when we have concepts like integrated framework of its development. That is very useful so that all the clusters within the blue economy, not just seafaring, but many other areas would be able to produce opportunities for people to get meaningful engagement and see the growth of this economy for the better. Thank you.
All right. P.S., there's a question here for you as you give us your final remarks as well. Francis Ikoha says, I'm a nautical science graduate from Bandari Maritime Academy, waiting to join a ship to practice my sea time as a deck cadet. I would like to ask Madam PS to give a direction for many young seafarers in the maritime sector who are looking forward to crew changeovers.
Okay. I want to say that I've interacted with that young man even this morning, and I remember the advice I gave him. And I told him that once this COVID ends, we have great plans for you, because if you'll remember, just before we shut down, we had a major recruitment exercise or screening exercise, because we had inquiries from 1 or 2 major lines. And I believe that what the hospitality crew has done for us, we are going to be reaping from it very soon. And therefore, I want to encourage him that not to give up, and there is still hope. There is a lot of opportunities coming. And also, let me say that in the shipping industry, revolutions come quietly. When we lost our place in the seafaring market, that was because of a revolution called STCW 95, because we didn't qualify on time. And therefore, those who were ready took up the places. Now, I want to say that there's a silver lining, a very good silver lining right now with COVID, because people who've been in the industry sometimes maybe look for excuses to leave. But we are also seeing that because of the upheavals, it's a very good time for us to develop the product that we have. And the beauty about this industry is that you have skilled, semi-skilled, and the professionals. So it means that you have a very wide spectrum of employment opportunities. And I believe that we are right on the brink of a positive history for Kenyans, and particularly the youth. I want to encourage them. Get skilled, retool, reskill. I was very encouraged the other day when I found an ICT graduate who has gone and enrolled in the Kisauni Village Polytechnic, and he's now doing refrigeration because he has learned that there is a job that he can get in the shipping industry. So I want to encourage them, please, use this period during COVID to reassess, to study and see what you can do and how you can retool yourself, how you can rebrand yourself to take advantage of the opportunities in this sector.
All right.
That's what I would really want to encourage the youth.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for making time for the Monday Report Town Hall session this evening. Mrs. Nancy Karigitu, she's the Principal Secretary, State Department of Shipping and Maritime at the Ministry of Transport, Infrastructure, Housing, Urban Development and Public Works. John Omingo, Head of Commercial Shipping at the Kenya Maritime Authority. Miss Betty McKenna, International Federation of Transport Workers, and also Mr. Stephen Owaki, Secretary General, Seafarers Union of Kenya, also known as SUK, and Reverend Moses Muli, Mission to Seafarers, speaking to us here just a few days before the International Day of the Seafarers. And this year's theme is Seafarers are Key Workers. And thank you so much for the feedback that you sent in and the video questions as well. Let's do this again on Monday on behalf of the entire team that made this possible. My name is Trevor Mbija. Always a pleasure and good night.